Hi, and welcome to this NAV Know-How webinar from Metaphorix. My name is Pauline Forder, and in this session we're going to go through NAV 2009 R2 Relationship Management. We will be looking at contacts and how we can attach mailing groups and business relationships to those contacts, how we can attach profiles so that we can best send out our mail shots to those relevant contacts, and how we can get Navision to automatically classify our contacts from a financial point of view. We will have a look at how we can control duplicate contacts and look at the rules set up in the contact search strings. We will then move on to opportunities and how we can attach our sales cycles for our salespeople to follow, and how we can create the activities and to-dos associated with those various sales cycle stages. We then will create a quotation for a contact rather than a customer, and at the end of the opportunity we'll determine as to whether we have won or lost that opportunity. Of course, opportunities can be based on creating events such as exhibitions or perhaps special pricing for particular goods. So we will have a look at how we control this through campaigns, how we can attach a segment, i.e. the contacts that we wish to make contact with for the particular campaign, and the interactions that are generated automatically from those campaigns and segments. So first of all, let's go and have a look at a contact. We have here in our list of contacts one called the Canon Group. I happen to know that this contact is also a customer as well. And you will notice underneath the main company details we have 4 records that are indented, and these relate to the person contacts associated with the Canon Group. So if we just have a look at that contact itself and the information that's provided for us. We have details of the name and address. We can attach a salesperson who is responsible for this particular contact. We can also attach a salutation code, which is how we prefer to, when we make a contact with this particular company, how we should address our correspondence to them. We also have feedback about when we have made our last interaction, and also when our next to-do date is to take place. In our segmentation fast tab, we can see those mailing groups that the contact is associated with, and if we just simply drill down into the field, we can then select the group that this particular contact is associated with. And of course, mailing groups can reflect anything in terms of products, anything that we want to group our contacts by. If we go into our business relationship area, we can see that indeed this contact is also a customer, but there are other contact categories or business types that you can set up, and this is all user defined. You see here we have prospective customers, so those that are contacts at the moment that we hope will be converted to a customer, so any particular type of grouping that you wish to. You'll notice also in the number of contacts field, Navision is feeding back how many of the existing contacts fall into that particular business relationship, and by simply clicking into that field we can get a list of all those contacts. We have the same capability for industry groups if that best fits how we want to categorise our contacts, and again we can set up any number of different types of contact industries that are relevant to ourselves. In addition to this, we have our Lines Fast tab, which is where we can get information fed back against the contact held against things called profiles. I can see from this particular contact card that we have what are called here the 2 standard profile questions, and we'll have a look at those in a moment. Whereas in the top section we've got some feedback. We have our questions here. What was the purchase frequency last year? And we can see there is some feedback coming here that it was greater than 5 times a year, and what the frequency is this year. More importantly, we can see from a turnover perspective on those 5 purchase frequencies what the actual turnover was, and we can see for last year it was classed as low and below 1,000, whereas this year it has increased for the same number of contacts and is now sitting at over 4,000. But of course, what are these figures actually relating to? And again, I will show you where that information is put together. So first of all, we'll just have a look at these 2 questions here. And we do that from the related information button, contact, and then profiles. You can set up as many different types of profiles for the different types of contacts that you wish to have, both from a company and a person respective. And we can see here we have our company ownership is stock exchange, which is our answer here, and then the number of employees, 99. So lots of feedback that you can hold against your contact. And of course that information can be used when you want to perform interactions with your contacts in terms of perhaps setting up campaigns, etc. So those additional pieces of information, these ones here, are actually based on feedback from the financial side of Navision, because it's actually talking about the frequencies and turnover for our contact. So let's go and have a look and see where that information is put together. It's held within departments, in administration and application setup, and within our sales and marketing area, sales and marketing, and here we will see we have our questionnaire set up. You'll notice again you can set up many different types of questions relative to both companies and to people or person contacts, and also you can filter it by the type of business relationship code. So the one we want to have a look at is this one here, the customer. We go to Edit Questionnaire, and you will see there are a number of questions and then answers displayed on the screen. If we have a look at the questions that I highlighted for you, we can see here customer purchase frequency, current year and last year, and within there you can see the questions that have been posed. So the answer, if it's greater than 5 times a year, is based on the value, and we'll come to that value in a moment, being between 6 and open-ended, i.e. the top range, whereas 3 to 5 times a year is between 3 and 5, and fewer than 3 times is 0 to 2. And again, we can see those contacts that fall into those categories. But to find out what the actual question was and what it is based on, we go from the question line, related information and question detail. And here is the formula. We have the description that is posed on the profile lines in the customer contact card. We denote that it is indeed an automatic contact classification, and then we determine which field it is or which area that we want to use. In this case, it's based on our sales frequency, but it could be against sales LCY, profit, or any of the ones on this list here. We then specify our date range, so last year up to this year, and then we determine what type of classification method we're going to use. Is it a defined value, which this one is, based on the responses here, or is it a percentage of the value or percentage of contacts? If we look at the turnover, again, cursor onto the question line and question details. This time we are indeed picking up the sales LCY, so that is indeed what that field is using. And then again, defined values, so if I just come down here, so we can see that it's the sales local currency of £4,000 and greater, or £1,000 to £4,000. So in this respect, you can put together any number of different question combinations to get the details that you want to be reflected against the contact cards. So once we have got our contact set up and we have entered our profile information, we will then want to check that we don't have any duplicates within our database, in our contact database. And to do that, we can go again to our administration area and go to our application setup again, sales and marketing, and then this time, rather than the questionnaire, we're going to go to the marketing setup. And one of the tabs within the marketing setup is for handling the duplicates. And there are two tick boxes here, one to say that you want to actively maintain the duplicate search string, and another one here that you can decide to either switch on or off to ask Navision to make the checks to search for the duplicates as you are indeed creating the contacts in the first instance. Then, using the duplicate strings, which we will have a look at in a moment, it is asking us at what percentage hit rate do we want it to Navision to determine that indeed the contacts are duplicates. So let's have a look at that search string then. Again, related information, setup and duplicate search string. And here we simply define out of a predetermined list of fields which part of the field that we want to check against the duplication. So in this case, we're saying the name field, first part of the name field, and for 5 characters. So check the first 5 characters, and then again we've got name and last, and this time we want to check the last 5 characters. So we're looking for the beginning and the end to correspond to denote that it is a duplication. Again, the same with the address field, postcode, city and phone number. So you can determine any number of these fields, you don't have to use them all, and you can determine the number of fields within, or number of characters within that field that you want Navision to check. And then based on the percentage from our duplicates fast tab, Navision will determine if indeed they are duplicates or not. So let's go and have a look at how we actually create our duplicate list. Just close our screens here. We'll go back to departments, sales and marketing, sales, and of course I mean marketing, and within here we have our generate contact search index, and this is simply a batch job. We're able to filter, if we want, exclude any contacts that we might not want to include on this particular run. I'm just going to set that running, and of course dependent on whether you have the automatic box ticked on the marketing setup will depend as to how long this process will take. It's actually completed for me now, and in order for me to see those duplicate contacts, I just go to the selection here, and it brings me a list up of those duplicate contacts. Now you'll notice, I'll just remove those ticks for the moment, that there are indeed duplicate customer names. And if we just cursor onto any particular line, in the bottom section of the screen we can see the contact that our cursor is on at the moment, and then the duplicate that Navision has highlighted for us. In order to see that visually on our duplicates list though, we just simply click on the field in the Separate Contacts box, and then that will highlight the contact that is deemed as being the duplicate. Now at this stage we can of course drill down and go and have a look at that contact card to see if we agree, or that we want to check are the total informations held within this particular contact card a duplicate of the other one. If it is, we can choose to delete the contact if we wish, or we can just simply, if we think it is a valid duplicate, then we can leave it in our contact database. To look at other contacts again, we can just simply click on the relevant record, and again Navision will highlight that for us. So we have our contacts set up. We have set up our profiles so that we can do mail shots based on the results and questions answered on our profiles. We've searched for our duplicates to make sure that we're not going to be sending out letters to duplicate addresses incorrectly. So now we'll have a look at how we can create our opportunity. So in this case, our opportunity is based perhaps just on a cold call that has happened. It's not attached to a campaign or anything. So we've had some feedback, and we are now going to set up an opportunity for our contact. But before we do that, I'd just like to show you from our opportunities matrix here how we can view existing opportunities that we have already running on our database. We can choose how we want to display the lines. We can see salesperson, campaign or contact. We can choose which value we want to see, as in estimated, calculated, number of opportunities, etc. And we can say that we only want to view those that are in progress, or perhaps we want to just revisit those we have won or lost. And we can say over what period we want to view those opportunities. So I'm just going to display the matrix now, and based on the filtering here, we have our salesperson. In this case, in our Cronus database, we have our 3 salespeople, Bart, Deborah and John. And at 2010, bearing in mind this is our Cronus database, we have these particular values as in estimated values of our opportunities. To view that in another way, we can go and have a look at perhaps how many of those values are based on the number of opportunities. So again, exactly the same information, but we can see Bart has 4 ongoing opportunities in the progress state, and Deborah has 5, John has 2. We can also see it from a contact point of view if we wish. So now we're looking at how many different opportunities we have against the various contacts that are set up. I just want to take us back now to our salesperson, and this time I'm going to change it, rather than the estimated value, I'm going to change it to the current value. But just to remind us of those figures, we have 20,000 and 92,000 etc. here as an estimated value. But if I am to change that to the calculated value, you will see that that figure has been reduced quite dramatically. And this is because the opportunities that these salespeople have against them are attached to something called a sales cycle. Based on the sales cycle, there are steps, and those steps are a calculated estimate of where they stand at the moment in actually fulfilling the opportunities. So at the moment, based on the calculation of which stage those opportunities are at, then this is where the calculation is at the moment for that opportunity, which looks quite a bit different. So we'll pop back and have a look at that estimated value again. And I'm going to just drill down into Deborah's list of opportunities, and we can see there's the 5 that she has. We can see that they are all in progress and that the current stage on this top one is at 1, whereas opportunity, the second one down, is at sales cycle 2. And we can see the estimated total value and the current value. So we'll go and have a look in more detail at that opportunity, and we can do this from this matrix by simply going related information and card. And so here is the information of the opportunity as we have set up. The contact details, so it's Claire at Delta Trading. The salesperson code is indeed Deborah. And we have no sales documents associated with this particular opportunity at the moment, and it is not attached to a campaign. Priority is normal, and the sales cycle is first and large, and I'll come back to that in a moment. It's in progress and the date that it was created. In the lines section, this is where it's going to feed back to us where we are within this opportunity. And as we saw earlier, we're in sales cycle stage 1 and the estimated value and the percent completed. So that is what is used to work out what the calculated current value is. So let's have a look at our sales cycle. And we can set up any number of sales cycles dependent on perhaps the type of product that we're selling or the type of company that we're dealing with, which is indeed how the Cronus database has set theirs up. So they have existing customers, large, or the one that we are on, which is first-time customer or first-time prospect, and it's a large account. Attached to our sales cycle are what we call the stages, and these are the stages that are for our salespeople to follow in a particular sales cycle. And again, the sales stages will be anything as per your company's approach on selling to new customers. We have 7 stages. We have initial, qualification, company presentation, and so on. The percent completed is that figure that we saw in the earlier screen. So you denote at a particular stage how far you think you are through the entire opportunity. We can attach activity codes, and we'll have a look at those in a moment. And for activity codes, we can read to-dos. And we can determine at which stage a quote is required, and part of the opportunity process will tell you that a quote must be created at this point. And we can also allow for a particular stage to be skipped, dependent on, again, the type of opportunity that we're running. We can also associate date formulas as to when the next stage must be completed by. So let's have a look at these activity codes and what we can associate with those. Again, I will just drill down. Come into our list, and again, the list of activities is designed by the user. And against each activity, if we go into the edit mode, we can see that we are going to create our to-dos. And in this case, it is a first to-do is to verify the quality of the opportunity, and that is deemed as being a high priority. And you can again associate a date formula. We haven't associated one with the qualification. However, to identify the key personnel, it is normal priority, but we have put a timescale. So from the initial to-do to quantify the quality of the opportunity, we must then within 1 week be able to determine who the key personnel are. If we have a look at perhaps the presentation, and here we can see that it is a type of phone call, and we have phone call or meeting here. Normal priority, no date formula on that, but then to confirm the product presentation in writing is high, and it must be within 2 days of making the presentation, and so on and so forth. So once we have established our opportunity and we have attached our sales cycle code, as we go through those various stages, we need to update our opportunity to say where we are now. And we can do that from this screen here, simply by going to Actions and Update. We're going to go on to the next stage, and you'll notice that you can skip, but only if that tick box on the sales cycle has allowed for a skip. I'm just going to go to Next, and it tells me that we're moving on to the qualification stage, which again will have those to-dos associated with it. What is the date of this change? So I'm just going to change that. So relevant to the year that we're working in. And I can choose to finish, but I'm just going to take you on to the next stage in the wizard, because it does allow us, dependent on any correspondence that we might have had with our prospect, to change both the estimated value and the chance of success. What is the estimated closing date, which was entered when we created our opportunity, and if we think that that has changed. And do we want to cancel any existing to-dos that we still have open? So realistically, you would tick that box to remove those, because you're going to generate new to-dos from updating to stage 2. And we will finish the opportunity. So we can see now that stage 1 is now no longer active, stage 2 is. And we can see that we indeed haven't changed the estimated value, but the calculated current value is now different, because it is based on the percentage completed figure, again from our sales cycle. So once we have got to this stage, our next stage might be that we want to create our sales quote. In fact, I'll just pop back to that one, because I can actually create a quote from this screen. So I will go to Actions, Functions, and I have 2 options: Assign a sales quote and Show sales quote. Well, the show sales quote would be if I had already created a quote in a previous session, but in this case I'm going to assign my sales quote. And here it is, a standard quote. However, because we're dealing with a prospect, we have no customer number here. If it had have been for a contact that was also a customer, then that would have auto-populated. because we're creating a quote. As you know, Navision needs posting groups in order to calculate VAT, etc. So in this case, because it is a prospect, we will need to apply a customer template. And again, the customer templates are based on the rules that the user has set up. So I'm going to select Great Britain and large customer. And then I can come in and fill up my quotation as I would do normally. You'll notice that the salesperson code has auto-populated from the contact card, and the opportunity number is also come through as well, and that's very important, and we'll see why as we go through this process. I'm going to select an item, and the item I'm going to select is my Athens desk. 1896. I've got a spurious 4 there, and there's my Athens desk. And it's going to do the usual feedback for us, and I will just say OK because this is a Cronus database. I'm going to enter 100 desks, and then I'm going to pop in my second line, which is my storage, and I'm going to put in 100 here. And of course, ideally, your quotation will be at least the same value as your estimated value of your opportunity. In this case, I'm very pleased to say that I have exceeded that, so that is super. So at this point, you would then send the quotation off to your contact. So I'm just going to close that quotation, close my opportunity and all my other screens. So at the relevant point in time, the prospect will come back and either say yes or no. We're obviously going to say yes at this point. So I will come to my sales quotes, open my sales quote, and of course at this point, as in standard Navision, I can make any changes to the quotation as required by the prospect. I will check all the information that is valid, and then at this point I can then make it into an order. So I'm asked, do I want to convert the quote? Yes, please. And it says you cannot release the quote or make an order unless you specify a customer on the quote. Well, of course, yes, this is against purely a contact, not a customer. So Navision is asking me, do I want to create my customer now? So I will say yes. And it tells me that the contact has been created to customer 10. And again, as per normal, we'll get any inventory warnings if they are applicable, and indeed they are for both. Because our opportunity is attached to this quote, there is that link, and it is asking us as to whether we want to now close the opportunity or not. Now we have a choice that we obviously can close it, or maybe we want to leave the opportunity open because perhaps there's something else that we want to run from that opportunity. In this case, I'm going to say yes, though, that I want to close it. And now it's bringing me back into the opportunity wizard to say what we want to do next. So I'm just going to go into next, and it's asking me, have we won or lost the opportunity? Well, it's taken or assumed that we have won, as we are indeed creating a customer from our contact, and indeed our order. So I can then decide what the reason is for closing the opportunity. Because we have specified that it is won, our closing, win and losing opportunity areas are filtered now on just the type of one. And again, the user can set up any number of different criteria as to why you might win or lose an opportunity. I'm going to say that it was a competent consultant, and I'm going to say that the date of this was 10, and the sales value here is blank at the moment. Now obviously I could just type in the value, but if I just quickly go and view the sales quotation, then it will auto-populate that value for me. Again, I have the opportunity to close or cancel any existing open to-dos, so I will take that opportunity to close those, because now I have completed my opportunity. So I will just simply tick the box and say finish, and now my quote has been converted to order number 1001. So that will disappear from my screen, and my order now is in the normal Navision sales order processing functionality area. So we have our contacts, we have done searches, duplicate searches, we've set up opportunities, and as I suggested, that one opportunity was based on a cold call or something of that manner. But of course we can set up these things called campaigns, where we can associate perhaps special pricing or special events, exhibitions, etc. that we might want to run. So from our role centre we can go to campaigns, and you can have as many campaigns at various stages on your database. So I'm simply now just going to create a new campaign. I'll generate the next number, and I'm going to do a golfing event, and I want to sell my Athens table because we've perhaps had an upgrade to it or some additional functionality added to our product. We can set as to when we're going through the actual creation of our campaign, whether it's in the planning stage or the approval stage, etc. So I'm going to say that we've started, and we can associate dates with it as well. We can attach one single salesperson if this is indeed a campaign just for one salesperson. My campaign is going to be across the board for all of our salespeople. We have the ability to attach, and in this case it's our dimensions, our global dimensions, and for our Cronus database this is our department code and project, but we don't have to attach a dimension if not required. And then we can also, against our campaign, attach sales prices or sales line discounts. And here we just move into standard Navision, where we can attach item numbers, unit of measures, minimum quantities, etc., as we would do normally against sales prices in our financial area. Likewise, we can set the line discounts if appropriate. If we do attach those, then we have to activate those special prices or discounts by just clicking on the button here. So once we have set up our campaign, then we would want to actually attach the contacts who we want to send, in this case, our details of our golfing event to. So we do that through the use of segments. And again, I will just create a new segment. And here we generate the new segment number. Oops. give it a description. Again, we have the opportunity to specify this just against one particular salesperson. So you might have a requirement to have a different segment for each salesperson. I'm just going to minimize the lines for a moment and have a look at the interaction fast tab. And what we're going to be doing here is associating an interaction, if there is one, with this particular campaign and segment. So I'm going to drill down and go to advanced just so that we can have a quick look at the different types of interaction templates that we can set up. And you'll notice we have a code, we have a different type of group code, and then a description. We can associate a wizard, and we can attach to our particular interaction an attachment, a Word document, perhaps it's an email that's going to go out. We can choose whether we want to ignore the contact correspondence type that is set up against our contact. So this is where we might have said our contact prefers to be contacted by email. Here we can say please ignore that because we're going to determine what the correspondence type is going to be. We can also add on a cost that is associated with creating this campaign and segment, and how long it takes us per contact to make that particular segment. We can say whether the information flow is inbound or outbound. So this would be, we would use this type, certain type of interaction for logging that we have received an incoming phone call, for example. And what the flow is as to whether it's initiated by us or by them. So I'm going to have a look at this golfing letter, and I'm going to have a look at the interaction that is associated with that. If ever when you're in Navision you get these types of screens, please always tick the always allow, and indeed you might have several if not more associated with this. And this is it just talking to Word basically. So as you can see, you can hold logos, etc. You can enter mailing fields, merge fields, which you can manually select from the list at the top of the screen. And you can add standard text. So I'm just going to add some text here, and I have obviously had that saved for me to save having to type that in manually. So there is our letter. Now just a note, once you have opened up your Word document from within your interactions, you cannot get back into Navision until your Word screen is closed. So you can just close that, and we are then prompted as to whether we want to import the golf letter or not. So of course we do, because I've now added my new text. So I will say yes to that. And I'm just now going to select that by going OK to bring that through to my segment, which is where we had drilled down by. We add in a subject. This would be used specifically if you were sending this out by email, but it is a field that Navision requires anyway. We determine the correspondence type, and this has come through from the interaction itself as hard copy, but of course I could change to email if I wanted to. And you'll notice that those other details are coming through, as in outbound, unit cost, and the unit duration. If you have selected that it is to go by email, you can choose to either send the document as a Word attachment, or if you don't tick that box, then it will send it in HTML format. in the campaign area, it tells us which campaign this segment is attached to, and also whether it is a target campaign, i.e. the people that we are sending the details to, or we can create this segment as a response to an existing campaign. So of course what we must do now is to add the contacts that we wish to send this to, and of course we can just drill down and manually select the contacts that we wish. But more importantly, we can get Navision to do most of the work for us by simply clicking on the Add Contacts. Here we can enter various options, and we can use our various filters to exclude or include only certain contacts. The ones I'm going to use in this example is I'm going to use our business relation groups, and here I only want to pick those contacts that are deemed as being a customer, because I'm going to send this invite out to only customers that have bought the Athens desk. So only those contacts that have a business relationship of customer. And in our value entry, I'm going to put in my Athens desk. When I'm happy with that, I simply click OK, and Navision goes through all of our contact records that are customers that have bought the Athens desk and produce our list for us here. You'll notice in the number of lines, it tells us how many we have on our screen, because of course this could be many hundreds of lines, and it's important that you know how many letters you're about to print up. And it also tells you the criteria that is used for those lines, and in this case it is our business relationship code of customer and our item number of our Athens desk. Now if you do have too many contacts in your segment, Navision again can help you by either refining or reducing the number of contacts in your list. So we'll have a look at how to reduce our contact list. I appreciate we haven't got many at the moment, but I just want to make sure in this example that the contacts that I'm sending to, that I haven't already perhaps spoken to them on the subject. So in this case I can use the interaction log entry, and I can say that I don't want to send out this mail letter to anyone that I have spoken with this month so far, for example. When I say OK to this, we can see that there actually isn't anybody, so it hasn't reduced it. Okay, but so that I know what those criteria is, you can see that it has actually increased my number of criteria actions, and I have said to remove those contacts that I might have contacted this period. So with my list duly entered, the way to actually activate this campaign and the segment, and indeed the interaction, is simply to say log. I have the opportunity to either say send the attachments or not, and also whether I want to create a follow-up segment. So I'll just simply say OK. Once the segment has been logged, it will disappear from your segment list, but it will be in the logged segment area of Navision. Now at this point your letters will be printing up. So I can now just close this, and in order to see that interaction, that golfing letter that we have sent, I will just go to my contacts. Or of course I could go to the customer, but I'm going to the contact to see the interaction. And I'm going to change the name to Delta. So there's my contact card. I'm going to related information, interaction log entries. And we can see here that we have some interactions here. We've got sales shipments, invoices, credit memos, etc. And there's our golfing event. And if we go to show, then we can see the letter that we have actually sent out to our contact. Additionally, as I say, you can see that we do have different types of interactions. So for example, we have an invoice there. So for our salespeople, if they want to have a look at the invoices that have gone out to their customers, perhaps they don't have permission to go into the finance area, but from here they can actually see the details of what the customers have been buying. So we have our segments, which will determine who we send our interactions to, and we have our interactions that we can indeed view from our contact side of things. So I do hope that you have enjoyed the session today. And just to summarise what we have covered today, we've had a look at contacts and how mailing groups and business relationships can be attached to those contacts. We have looked at profiles and how we can, through automatic contact classifications, actually bring through information from the finance side of Navision. We've seen how we can control the duplicates and the rules set to determine what those duplicates are in our system. We've looked at single opportunities and sales cycles and creating those to-dos, and how we can create quotations for a contact rather than a customer. And of course, we've seen how the wizard will take us through winning or losing our opportunity. From a campaign status, we've seen that we can attach pricing, and using our segments, we can attach those contacts that we wish to look at. And as a result of those campaigns and segments, the interactions that have been generated against our contact cards. I do hope you've enjoyed this session, and as with all other of our webinars, you can find the recordings at the address shown on your screen, or you can email Debbie or support, and we will be more than happy to get back to you. So thank you once again, and I look forward to seeing you at our next NAV Know-How.